Deep Rock Galactic has a lot of great stuff in it, and a lot of stuff that could be added to make it even better. Unfortunately, many of the things players want to be added will probably never come true, and let's talk about why. For as long as Deep Rock Galactic has been out, people have wanted several different things added into the game for one reason or another. Some of them are good ideas, some of them are bad ideas, and some of them just why? Why would they think we need this? Now, I have my own wants and wishes for this game to evolve as well, of course. However, it's important to understand what is a viable and plausible thing to add to the game, and what just won't work given the formula and basic premise of the game's setup. So if you guys are ready, today we will be going over 10 things that Deep Rock Galactic will most likely never have included, and the most understandable reasons as to why that is. By the way, if you like this video, make sure you subscribe, because if you don't, then there is a 0% chance that these things will be added into the game. So it's really a win-win for you guys. So first up on the list, hitting the low-hanging fruit, is a 5th character class. So this is something that even though the devs have made perfectly clear that they are never adding a 5th class into the game, people still keep asking every livestream and Q&A, when are we getting a 5th class?
Are you that stupid?
Look, don't get me wrong, I would love to see more classes added myself. However, the way Deep Rock is made and structured, it simply would not work out well. The game currently boasts a perfect balance between the 4 distinct classes: the gunner, the engineer, the driller, and the scout. These classes were meticulously designed to create a cohesive experience and team dynamic, ensuring that each class has its own unique role and contribution. Adding a 5th class would be a significant challenge for the developers, as it would disrupt the finely tuned balance. The existing classes offer a well-rounded team composition, and any new class would need to fit seamlessly into the existing game mechanics. Or even worse, it would completely negate one of the class's potential use depending on what is added. Let me give an example. Let's say they add a medic class, for instance, which is one that I personally would very much love to see. That utility and ability to heal would be so invaluable and helpful that there would be no reason not to bring one on high difficulty content. So then that would beg the question of what class gets left behind. If one spot is reserved for the medic class at high level play, then you can only choose 3 of the other classes to go with you. And eventually it would lead to one class being labeled as eventually useless. That's not the case in the current game, as every class has its own uses and powers. There is a reason to bring all of them to a mission because they all complement each other so well. This is why adding a 5th class would probably cause more harm than good to the game, and why we probably won't see it. Next up on the list is a melee weapon system. While a game featuring hordes of alien creatures might seem like a perfect opportunity for melee combat, Deep Rock Galactic is fundamentally built around ranged combat, teamwork, and strategy. Introducing melee combat would require a complete overhaul to the game's mechanics, as well as enemy AI behavior. The current gameplay experience focuses on gunplay and the use of class-specific tools, making melee weapons an improbable addition. I mean, think about it this way. If you are on a high hazard level, those bugs already hit extremely hard. So you don't want to even be somewhat close to them, let alone close enough to be able to hit them, but they'll be able to hit you a lot harder. Melee combat is just not something that is viable for Deep Rock to add, as it goes against a lot of the established playstyles and game premises. So any dreams of a dwarf berserker class using dual axes or a big hammer are probably just going to remain dreams. So the next one is a feature that people have been asking for since DRG's very early access, and that is the addition of a shooting range in the space rig for us to practice our setups before going into the caves. Many people have expressed interest in a shooting range for practice and experimentation. However, the devs have chosen to keep players learning through real-life experiences within the game's hazardous conditions. Deep Rock Galactic encourages players to improve their skills while on actual missions rather than in a controlled shooting range setting. Now, I understand why players are upset by this notion, but you have to think about how DRG is laid out. Missions in Deep Rock are for the most part completely randomized, meaning you will constantly be adjusting to different circumstances when venturing into the caves. No matter how much you practice your setup, there is no comparing it to the radically wild encounters that you will have during actual missions. Going from fighting rival tech enemies, to rockboxes, to wardens, to dreadnoughts, there are so many different types of enemies and encounter types that you can come across that no matter how strong a particular build may be, there will always be at least something that it struggles with. So if you want to try out a build, just go trial by fire, because there is a very slim chance that there will be a shooting range added anytime soon. Another thing that people have asked for some time now is new biomes, and while that is most likely coming sometime soon, specifically people have been wanting an underwater biome where we can swim around with fish. Unfortunately, this is most likely never going to happen. Deep Rock Galactic's essence revolves around mining, drilling, and battling the bugs in the dark, cavernous depths of the planet. A water biome doesn't really fit with the game's core concept, and implementing underwater gameplay mechanic would require significant changes to the game's engine and core design. Besides, having to make one specific biome that employs such a drastic change in gameplay would just make the other biomes feel so weird and so disconnected. If they did implement a biome like this, they would have to probably update the existing biomes to have their own unique features and mechanics so that they don't feel outdated or inferior in comparison. Thus, it's improbable that we will see a water biome in DRG anytime soon. Similar to the last one, another new type of biome that people want to see is one that takes place on the planet's surface. This would be a very cool and surreal thing to experience. Again, similar to the water biome, they would have to implement some interesting and insane mechanics in order to make the biome feel real and interesting, which, again, would make it feel way too drastically different from the other biomes. The amount of mechanical changes needed to make a surface biome work would be very wild to do, and also just traversing the environment would be very difficult. Deep Rock Galactic is all about exploring the subterranean world of Hoxus, and the gameplay never really ventures onto the surface. The action, resource gathering, and monster encounters are all set up deep within the caves. A surface biome would be a stark departure from the game's core concept. I mean, think about it this way. If you don't like the low oxygen mutator, then imagine a whole biome where this is just a normal feature. Simply put, the idea of a surface biome is very cool, but very difficult to achieve, making it highly unlikely that we'll see. So the next one is kind of a weird one, but honestly it's understandable given some of the game's story. Dreadnoughts are already a thrilling encounter in the game, but the idea of larger, more menacing adult dreadnoughts is unlikely to become a reality, unfortunately. We're led to believe that the dreadnoughts we encounter on elimination missions are not yet fully grown, which means that they can get even bigger and even more dangerous. While it would be very cool to see what a fully mature dreadnought would be like, the game's mechanics and balance are designed around the current dreadnought fights. Adding even more complexity and size to these battles would present considerable challenges for the devs to account for. I think it is a little more likely that we will see other variations of dreadnoughts added to the game, but still may not be too likely. Ultimately, while not fully out of the question, I suppose, fully grown adult dreadnoughts are certainly not coming anytime soon. Something that isn't nearly as common as the other things we have talked about so far is the idea of a 5-player mode. I don't see this one talked about a lot, however, it does show up every now and then as something people want to see. Similar to the idea of a 5th class, I don't think that this would work really well simply because, again, Deep Rock Galactic's cooperative gameplay centers around a squad of 4 players. Expanding the player count to 5 would require a significant overhaul to the game's balance and mechanics. Adding another player slot would mess with the class diversity because, if they did this without adding a 5th class, then one of the 4 existing classes would naturally have more presence. The 4-player setup is well loved by the community and is most likely never going to change. This next one is more of a personal want that I may be grasping at, but I would really like to see some kind of an ability rework or enhancement to existing powers. Unfortunately, while minor adjustments and tweaks to class abilities may occur in updates, a complete rework of abilities is most likely not going to happen. I would like to see a way to augment or modify our abilities to really good levels. Like an idea I said on stream a while back would be something like maybe the gunner could have this thing where instead of throwing out his shield and it deploying from where it lands, instead the shield generates from the gunner himself and he could potentially move with it and have faster deployment, but maybe he could slow down in the process because it's a lot heavier. Something like that I think would be really cool to add. Even though the idea is cool, it's probably a lot of work for the devs to do. The classes and their abilities are essential for defining each dwarf's unique role and playstyle. A massive overhaul could disrupt the finely tuned balance that the community has grown to appreciate, so it's probably not going to happen anytime soon. So number 9 is a little odd, and I'm not sure exactly why people want this, but for some reason the community wants the Abyss Bar to start offering food as well as drinks for us as well. The Abyss Bar is a beloved spot for players to unwind, but the tantalizing food options on the menu are unlikely to be implemented. I do think the idea of us having food that can give us buffs during missions would be really cool. However, I think the developers have chosen to focus on other in-game elements that maybe are a little bit more impactful towards gameplay changes. The Abyss Bar is more of a social gathering place, and while it's still a good place to be and something the devs do focus on sometimes, it is clearly not at the top of their priority list to be updated. As much as we would love to taste the virtual cuisine like peat loaf and whatever is in that refrigerator, it's not on the cards, at least at the moment. But then again, we did get the randomizer last season, so I suppose the bar is still something that they look at. The last one is one that the whole player base would love, however, because of the circumstances, it's probably not really too easy to do. That, of course, being cross-platform play. While crossplay is a highly requested feature, it poses complex technical and logistical challenges for the development team. Implementing crossplay requires coordination between different platforms, and often falls beyond the control of the development team. Not to mention the fact of mods being allowed on certain versions and not others. While it would be a fantastic addition, it remains uncertain due to these complexities. Hopefully though, one day soon, all the miners of DRG can work together in one big community. Deep Rock Galactic is a fantastic game with a dedicated fan base, and while it's fun to speculate about potential ideas, it's also essential to appreciate the game's existing strengths. The game's core mechanics, balance, and design have been carefully crafted to create a unique and engaging experience. So while we may dream of these additions, let's try to keep ourselves grounded and appreciate the game for what it is. I hope you guys liked this video and are not too demoralized about these probably never to be seen features, but you never know what the devs have planned and they may surprise us in the near future. I know they said that they are probably planning on adding a new biome in Season 5, so we'll see what happens from there. Let me know down below what features you want to see added into the game that you think could be possible or not. Anyway, I hope you guys found this video entertaining. If you did, please like and subscribe because it tells me what types of videos you guys want to see. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.